Today I'm going to be showing you a video on how to do a kind of a soft down do. So if you've seen those really pretty updos that are all kind of gathered to the back, cascading curls going down, where most of it's pulled off the face, but it's not all pinned up, that's what we're going to work on today. So what I've done to get started was I prepped her hair by curling the front and the top. And I curled from basically behind her ear forward on each side, and then about halfway up her the back of her head. This is all curled as well. And I used a lot of texture spray, and I used hairspray to finish, and I haven't touched the curls since I've done it, so I didn't pull them out as I went. I just texture sprayed them, curled it, and then did more hairspray on them so they can get a good chance to hold. The key with this updo is you want it to stay but look really loose, and so you need to use the right amount of product to make sure you get that soft flowing look, but it's actually going to last all night if it's a bride. So what I'm going to do is take the back of her hair, all of it actually, and you can kind of decide. So this one I'm going to do it pretty simple, but if you want to have a really elaborate with lots of curls, then you want to take maybe some extensions and use that for your base if she doesn't have that much hair. But for sake of simplicity, this is kind of a basic way to make this look happen. So I'm going to start out with this part, and I'm going to give it a lot of texture spray and kind of work it all the way through. And then I'm going to divide it into 3 sections to do a regular braid. And so what I'm going to do with each section is back comb each section so it's full. So what I'll do is back comb it lightly, because all the curls on both sides are going to be pinned into this braid. And if you don't have good texture in the braid, and if it's not back combed, then you don't have as much grip for it to stick to. So that's why I'm going to back comb each section. And it doesn't need to be really back combed, but enough just to give it a little bit of grip. So I'm kind of going in sections. You can see I'm taking this piece, dividing it into 2, and back combing each section. So then the whole thing's just a little bit fuller, has a little bit more texture and grip to it. Alright, now that that's done, we're just going to do a simple 3-strand braid around the back. Now, like I said, if you choose to use extensions here, you could clip them in here, like the tape-in or clip-in kind, and then you could do more of a French braid if you wanted. But if you don't have a lot of hair, then that's a good trick. And then you won't even see them because they'll be hiding under here. So I'm just going to secure this with a clear elastic, and then I want to pull the braid out to make it a little bit fuller. So meaning I'm just going to go through and pull each strand so it's a little bit fuller, and I have more hair for the rest of this hair to grip onto. So we want to make sure it's even on both sides, and this is a good base. You can see it's just a nice chunky braid. And I'm going to give it a little bit of spray with some flexible hold hairspray. Alright, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take part of the section down, so just about half of it, and I'm going to leave the hair on the top, just the crown, because I want to be able to create a little bit of volume and make sure I have some hair to work with up here to make it interesting, and to make sure it looks soft and not too tight. So I'm going to clip this away. You can see I've already kind of curled it a little bit. So depending on how thick her hair is, you can do this in 1 swoop or 2 or 3, depending on how much depth she has to work. So I'm going to do it in 2. So what I'll do is I'll take one side, and I'm going to twist it like that. I'm going to pull these pieces out. And like I said, I've already used a lot of texture spray in this, so that's why it's going to work well for me. I'm going to take a bobby pin, and I'm going to anchor it to the braid. So what I'm going to do is actually go from the inside. I'm going to turn it so you can see. So I'm holding it in the twist, and I'm going to go on the inside and pin it into this braid, so you don't see the bobby pin. You can see it's hidden. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm giving it a twist, and I'm going to pull it out, and then I'm going to pin it in there. So this is kind of the foundation of the curls. And if the person has really, really fine hair and they really want this look, then you could put another pack of extensions in right there, and that will help. So I'm going kind of inside the braid. Because the braid is nice and fat, what I can do is hold the bobby pins and kind of weave it into the braid between my fingers. And so at this point, you want to just kind of look at it and pull it out and make sure it's even, and sort of play with it to make sure it's looking really nice. So I'm going to stand in front of it like this and kind of make a few adjustments, and then give it a little bit more spray. I'm going to take the ends and tuck them into the braid as well. So you can see how we have the braid here and these pieces. So I'll just take this that's already curled and turn it. I'm actually going to kind of cross these over like this. I'm going to give it another turn, and I'm going to pin it into the braid. So same thing I did before, holding onto the braid and putting my bobby pin down into the braid. This way you won't see the bobby pin, and the braid is what's going to anchor that in. And same thing on this side, anchoring it in. Now the nice thing about this is you can kind of spray some of this in place so it looks nice and soft. You don't have to pin so much of it because it's meant to fall. Alright, now I'm going to work with my sides. So you can see they're already curled and textured. So at this point, I'm going to start near the top. So I'll turn her this way. So you can see this is the front of her hair. I want to take about half of this section. I'm going to pull it back and do the same technique I did up here, where I'm twisting and pulling it out. If she has a lot of hair, take smaller sections. If she doesn't have very much hair, you can take bigger sections. And I'm going to, again, turn it and kind of twist it into my braid. And using the braid as an anchor once again. And I'll pull it over the braid and do another section. So I'm just working with the hair by the ear and pulling it softly over. And this will give it a really soft look off the neck too. So you can decide how much she wants to have down. Some people want to be able to have more pieces down around the neck. Some people want that all up. This is where you can kind of decide that. And my last piece is right here on the nape of the neck. I want that to be really loose because I don't want to see a gap where the braid starts and where the hair comes over. So I'm going to turn this one, and instead of bringing it up, I'm actually going to bring it just over so it's connecting to the braid down low and you don't see any gaps along her neckline here. So that's why you want to make sure not to bring this hair into the braid initially. You want to have that left out so you can have no gaps. And again, I'll turn and twist it into the braid. Just like that. So you can see how this is already coming together and looking really soft and really loose. And so these ends you can go through and kind of play around where you want them to go, and then just put a little bit of a pin in. Here you can kind of pull these through each other so they have more of a woven look if you'd like, kind of like that, and bring those in as much as you want. And then you just want to decide how much you want to have down around the face. So I'll just leave a little bit out and see what we want to do with that. I'm just going to rake my fingers here and pull this across and do the same thing that I've been doing, where I'm just sort of pulling it out nicely. Like I said before, if you use a lot of texture spray to start, and dry shampoo and just get the hair nice and textured, then it's going to pull out really easily for you when you're trying to create this look. If the hair is really slippery, if it's really clean, if it doesn't have any products in it, it's going to show gaps, and it's not going to do that like you want it to. So this side, pretty simple, pretty beautiful. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So I'll show you over here what it looks like as I'm pulling it across. So I'm taking these pieces, twisting, pulling them out, and I'm turning them into itself. So if I lay this piece flat and stick a bobby pin in it, you're going to see the bobby pin and it's not going to flow. If you turn it like this, then the curls are going to cascade down. I should also mention that when I curled it, I curled all the hair on this side inward, and then the curls on this side were going inward. So as I pin them in, the curls are all turning towards the center, and it makes it easy for when I'm doing this part and anchoring them into the braid. They all go in the right direction. It looks kind of weird if you have all the hair moving in one direction. The only exception to that is if you're doing this look more off to the side, then you can have it all go in one direction. So I'm going to take this bottom piece here, twist, and I'm pushing it into the braid. So you can see how this is all coming together. Really nice. All right, we'll do one more from this side so you can see, and then work on the top. The reason I really like this hairstyle too is because a lot of brides struggle with wanting to have their hair down on their wedding day, but they don't necessarily want to worry about it. So this is a nice option for that bride who really wants to have her hair down, but also wants it off her face and doesn't want to mess with it. This kind of gives you the best of both worlds. You can also use a lot of accessories in this, which is fun, and you can still use a veil. You can stick the veil in just in the top really simply. So this is our start. I think I'll pin this one down, kind of pin these in a little bit so you can make sure that they're not flying all over the place. But this is the good base, okay? And then the last thing you have is the very top. So we'll pull that down and let it fall over the top and decide if you want to give a little volume or not. If so, you can do some back combing. If not, you can leave it as is. I'm going to make this very simple and do what I did underneath, where I'm just going to take two sections and cross them over into themselves. So twisting this one, and I'm going to pull it up a little bit loose, just like that. We're going to pin it inside. Okay, and then same thing on this side. So I'm going to cross it over, give it a little twist, so that looks kind of pretty. So if you wanted to do a veil, you could put a veil right on top of this twist here, and you'd be able to hide the comb of it pretty well. All right, and then you're just going to want to go through and kind of cross these around. You can play with it and see where they want to go. But then you have this great anchor right here, where it's not going to go anywhere. Your braid isn't going to move, and you have it really nice, soft and flowing from one side. You have it soft and flowing from the other side, and then you can kind of decide from the front if you want to have pieces down, which a lot of brides like, or if you want to bring it all back. But even so, you can see from the front it's super soft. Doesn't make her look like she has a really tight, severe looking updo, and you can leave a lot of pieces down in front to make it look really soft and romantic or really boho, but know that it's actually going to stay put and not just fall out by the end of the night. So I hope you learned something good today. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And if you want some awesome downloads and freebies on building your bridal business, please go to the updocollective.com, and I have some free downloads there. Plus you can get on my newsletter where I give bi-monthly tips and advice on running your bridal business. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye.